She took a DNA test for fun. One swab, one test. And just like that, everything she believed was a lie. It started like any other lazy weekend, the kind where time felt like it had nowhere to be. The sun outside was warm but not too hot. Birds chirped somewhere in the background, and the hum of a distant lawnmower made it feel like just another slow Saturday in the suburbs. Lily, Grace, and Daniel were tucked away in Grace's basement, surrounded by pillows, half-empty soda cans, and the kind of silence that only came from true comfort. The three of them had grown up together. Neighbors turned classmates, classmates turned family. This was their safe place. No teachers, no rules, no parents hovering around asking questions. Just them. Lily lay stretched out on the beanbag near the corner, idly scrolling through her phone, not really reading anything. Grace sat cross-legged on the floor, twisting the ends of her hair while flipping through an old-fashioned magazine from her sister's room. Daniel, the loudest and goofiest of the trio, was perched halfway on the couch, half off it, fingers flying across his laptop keyboard like he was hacking into NASA. And then, as expected, Daniel broke the silence. "Okay," he said, eyes wide. "This is actually kind of insane." Grace looked up, unimpressed. "If you found another cat video, I swear." "No," Daniel grinned. "Better. Way better." Lily glanced at him. "If this is another weird conspiracy site, I'm not clicking." "It's not." Daniel turned his screen around for them to see. A clean, modern web page filled the screen. Bright colors, friendly text, a happy family hugging in the header photo. "Check this out," he said, scrolling through excitedly. "It's a DNA testing site. You order a kit, spit in a tube, send it in, and it tells you your ancestry, health stuff, random genetic traits, the whole deal." Grace leaned in. "Wait, like those ancestry kits?" "Exactly," Daniel said. "But this one's cooler. It's trending right now, going viral. People are finding out they've got Irish roots when they thought they were German, or discovering they're part Scandinavian or something. It's wild." Lily sat up a little. "So it just tells you where you're from?" "Basically," Daniel nodded. "It analyzes your DNA and compares it to genetic databases. It even estimates where your ancestors lived hundreds of years ago." "Crazy, right?" Grace grinned. "My grandma always said we had Spanish blood. I've always wanted to know if that's true." Daniel laughed. "My uncle insists we've got Viking blood. I mean, I don't see it. But hey, maybe I've got a warrior spirit." Grace rolled her eyes. "You cried watching Finding Nemo." "I was young," Daniel defended. "And it was emotional." They all laughed. Then Daniel added, "They're doing a promo right now. $60 per kit, free shipping. We could all do it. Spit and discover our mysterious pasts." Lily hesitated. She looked at the site again, her fingers still on her phone. It sounded interesting, but something about it made her pause. Not fear, just a faint, unexplainable discomfort. "I don't know," she said softly. "I already know my background. My dad's side is English, mom's side is mostly Irish. Nothing surprising there." Grace turned to her with a grin. "Come on, Lils. It's not about surprises. It's about fun. Let's all do it together, like a little science adventure." "Yeah," Daniel chimed in. "We'll be the DNA Dream Team. 3 friends, 1 spit-filled journey." "That's the worst slogan I've ever heard," Lily said, laughing despite herself. "You know you want to," Grace nudged her. Lily thought about it for a second, then sighed. "Fine, but if I find out I'm part Martian, I'm blaming both of you." Grace smiled triumphantly. "That's the spirit." 3 days later, the kits arrived in neat white boxes with teal lettering and instructions printed in bold. The packaging was clean and friendly, almost too friendly. It made everything seem harmless. They gathered again that evening in the same basement. The smell of popcorn lingered in the air, and a soft playlist played in the background. One by one, they followed the instructions. Daniel, of course, went first, dramatically spitting into the tube like he was donating an organ. "May my ancient bloodline reveal greatness." Grace shook her head, chuckling, and carefully filled hers. "Watch me find out I'm royalty or something." Lily went last. She held the tube for a moment before beginning. It felt strange, to put so much trust into something so small. A piece of plastic. A tube of spit. But she did it anyway. She sealed it, just like the instructions said, wrote her name on the label, dropped it into the prepaid envelope. Daniel bowed as he placed his envelope in the box. "Our fates are sealed." Grace joined in. "To the future and the past." Lily added hers without a word. They laughed. teased, played another round of card games. It was the kind of night they'd remember fondly, not knowing that for one of them, it would be the night their life quietly changed forever. Because buried deep inside Lily's DNA wasn't just history. It was a secret someone had gone to great lengths to hide, and soon that secret was coming for the surface. 2 weeks passed, fast for everyone else, slow for Lily. Then on a quiet Thursday afternoon, Daniel dropped the first bomb in their group chat. "I got mine," Daniel said, buzzing with excitement. "I'm 35% British, 15% German, and apparently 3% Scandinavian. Viking confirmed." Lily smiled, watching the message appear on her screen as she lay on her bed. She was genuinely happy for him, but there was still no email from the company, no notification, nothing. Minutes later, Grace chimed in. "Oh my God," Grace said. "My grandma was right. I'm actually 22% Spanish? And wait, 10% North African? That explains my skin tone." Daniel responded with a laughing emoji. "You're officially exotic," he said. "Meanwhile, I'm basic with a battle axe." They kept going back and forth, joking and celebrating their results like kids who had just discovered treasure maps inside cereal boxes. But Lily? She stayed quiet. She refreshed her inbox for the 5th time that hour. Still nothing. With a little more urgency, she opened the app and logged into her profile. The screen was unusually slow. She watched the white background swirl into a loading wheel, her heart starting to beat faster, and then it stopped. No data, no charts, no percentages, just a blank page. And at the top of it, a yellow warning sign and a bold message staring back at her. "Your results cannot be displayed online. Please visit our head office in Los Angeles to discuss your DNA profile in person. Government-issued ID will be required." Lily sat up slowly, the screen still glowing in her hand. Her breath caught for a second. "What the hell?" she muttered to herself, heart sinking. She closed the app. Tried again. Same result. Every tab, ancestry, health risk, relatives, was locked. It wasn't a glitch. She picked up her phone and quickly dialed Grace. "Hey," Lily said, trying to sound normal. "Hey, what's up?" Grace asked, her voice still light from the excitement of her own results. "Did you get your results through email or just the app?" Lily asked. "Both," Grace replied. "Why?" Lily hesitated. She rubbed her forehead and took a breath. "I didn't get anything. No email, no results. Just a message telling me to come to their head office in LA to see my results in person," she said. There was a pause. Then Grace said, "Wait, what? That's kind of weird." "I know," Lily replied. "It locked my account too. I can't see anything." Grace went quiet for a second. "Well, maybe it's just a glitch or something," she said, trying to be reassuring. "They probably just flagged it by mistake." "Yeah, maybe," Lily mumbled, though nothing about this felt like a mistake. That evening, Daniel called, full of energy like always. "Still no results?" he asked. "Nope," Lily said, pulling her blanket over her legs. "Okay, hear me out," Daniel said, lowering his voice dramatically. "What if you're royalty and they need to verify your identity before they give you your castle?" Lily let out a dry laugh. "Yeah, sure. They're probably waiting with a golden crown. Or," Daniel continued, "you're part of some super secret bloodline and they need to meet you face to face before unlocking your ancestry powers." "Right," Lily said, smiling faintly. "I'm the missing Avenger." Daniel chuckled. "I knew it." Lily hung up, feeling a little lighter, but deep down, the knot in her stomach hadn't loosened at all. Later that night, she sat at her desk, staring at the support page on the company's website. After a long pause, she started typing an email. "Hi, I received a message that my results can't be displayed online. My account appears to be locked. Is there a problem with my sample?" She hit send. The response came 4 hours later. "Dear Lily, due to the sensitive nature of your DNA match, we cannot release your data electronically. A representative will only discuss your results in person. Please visit our Los Angeles office at your earliest convenience. Sincerely, GenCode support team." That was all. No explanation, no details, just cold words on a screen and a sinking feeling in her chest that she couldn't ignore anymore. That night, Lily lay wide awake. The darkness in her room felt heavier than usual, pressing down like a blanket made of unanswered questions. She turned on her side, then her back, then her side again. Sleep refused to come. Her mind replayed everything: the locked account, the cold email, the strange warning. And then it started pulling old memories out from the shadows. Memories she hadn't thought about in years. She'd always thought it was odd, how her parents never talked about the day she was born. No hospital stories. No, your dad fainted when he saw you kind of tales. Just silence. She remembered asking once, when she was maybe 10, why there weren't any baby photos of her as a newborn. Her mother had said something about losing them in a move, but now that excuse felt thin. She sat up, heart pounding. She got out of bed, crept down the hallway, and opened the hallway closet. Her hands moved through folded blankets and storage bins until she found what she was looking for, an old box labeled Lily's Early Years. She carried it back to her room and set it gently on the carpet. Her hands trembled a little as she opened the lid. Inside were old birthday cards, scribbled preschool drawings, a tiny pink baby brush, and photos, dozens of them. But as she flipped through them, a cold chill ran down her spine. Every photo was from when she was 3 years old and up, a fifth birthday, a preschool field trip, her first Halloween costume, but nothing before that. No hospital photos, no pictures of her as a newborn, not even one from her first birthday. She stared at a picture of herself in a red jumper, standing by a Christmas tree. She was maybe 4, smiling, but something about the smile didn't feel familiar anymore. It felt distant, like it belonged to someone else. The next morning, she sat at the kitchen table while her mom stirred her usual cup of herbal tea. The smell of cinnamon and mint filled the air. Lily's voice was quiet when she spoke. "Hey, Mom," she said, "do we have any pictures from when I was born?" Margaret looked up, caught off guard. There was a slight pause, a flicker of hesitation, before she smiled and shook her head lightly. "Oh, sweetheart," Margaret said. "We lost most of those during the move from New Haven, remember? You were still a baby. We didn't even have a proper photo album then." Lily nodded slowly. "Right," she said, "I forgot." But she hadn't forgotten. Not because she was too young to remember the move, but because she was certain there never was one. Later that day, Lily sat with Grace under the old sycamore tree behind the school. It was their place, the one spot that always felt safe. Lily told her everything, from the locked account to the email to the empty photo box and the lie about the move. Grace listened in silence, her face still, her fingers nervously twisting the edge of her hoodie. When Lily finished, Grace didn't say anything right away. She just sat there, looking off into the trees. Then she spoke. "If there's something wrong, this might be your only chance to find out," Grace said. "I mean, what if it's something big? What if someone's been hiding something from you your whole life?" Lily bit her lip. "I don't want to believe that," she said. "I know," Grace replied. "But if you don't go, won't you always wonder?" Lily looked down at the grass, plucking a piece between her fingers. "I'm not telling my parents," she said. "Not yet." "Then tell them you're visiting my cousin in San Bernardino," Grace said. "You'll have backup." Lily nodded slowly. There was fear in her chest, thick, twisting fear, but something else too, a quiet kind of determination. She didn't know what was waiting for her in Los Angeles, but whatever it was, she had to face it. Lily didn't have to ask. The moment she mentioned the trip, Grace was already on her feet, her voice steady and firm. "If something's wrong," Grace said, folding her arms, "I'm not letting you walk into it alone." Lily looked at her best friend, grateful but hesitant. "It's a long way," she said. "Expensive, too." Grace shrugged. "You've been saving for college clothes. This is more important." They planned it in silence, booked a cheap weekend flight, packed light, and told their parents they'd be staying with Grace's cousin in San Bernardino. By Friday morning, they were in the air. The plane hummed softly as Lily stared out the window, the clouds below her thick like secrets. Neither of them said much. Excitement buzzed under the surface, but anxiety gripped Lily's chest like a second seatbelt, one she couldn't unbuckle. She kept thinking about the message. Sensitive nature of your DNA match. What did that even mean? When they landed in Los Angeles, the air felt heavier, warmer, unfamiliar. Everything moved fast. Taxis, people, cars, voices. But Lily felt like she was floating through it all, a step behind reality. They found the office building easily. Sleek, silver, and glassy, like something out of a sci-fi movie. The letters GenCode Labs stretched across the polished doors. As they stepped inside, the air changed. Cooler. Quiet. Too quiet. A woman at the front desk looked up and smiled politely. "Can I help you?" she asked. "I'm Lily Thomas," Lily said, her voice slightly shaky. "I was asked to come here to review my DNA results." The woman's smile faded as soon as she saw Lily's face. Her eyes blinked once, then again, like she had just seen a ghost. "One moment, please," the receptionist said, her voice suddenly more formal. She picked up a phone, whispered something too low to hear, and gave Lily a stiff nod. "Someone will be with you shortly. Please wait in room 3B. Grace and Lily exchanged a look. The hallway they were led into felt like it belonged in a hospital. White walls, no sound, the scent of sterile air. Room 3B was small. A table, 2 chairs, and a large screen mounted on the wall. They sat, neither spoke, and then the door opened. A woman stepped in, wearing a navy suit and a thin silver necklace. Her expression was unreadable, calm, serious, composed. She had papers in one hand, a tablet in the other. "Lily," she said, extending her hand. "I'm Miss Harlan, senior genetic analyst here at GenCode." Lily stood slowly and shook her hand. "Hi." Miss Harlan nodded at Grace politely, then sat down. "Thank you for coming," she said. "I know this process has been unusual." Lily sat back down, her fingers tightening around the strap of her bag. "I just want to know what's going on," she said softly. "Why I couldn't get my results like everyone else." Ms. Harlan placed the papers on the table carefully, then tapped the screen on her tablet. "Your case is delicate," she said, "and deeply sensitive." She turned the screen toward Lily. "You submitted your DNA for analysis through our standard pipeline," she continued. "It passed through several filters, including criminal match databases, which is a routine process to identify unknown relatives." Lily's brow furrowed. "Criminal?" Miss Harlan didn't blink. "Your DNA produced a match. A very rare one," she said. "We ran the analysis 3 times to confirm it." She tapped the screen again, and a chart appeared. Lines, numbers, codes that Lily didn't understand. But the caption was clear. 99.98% biological match. Catherine Myers. Miss Harlan looked up. "You are a direct match to someone currently in the federal criminal system," she said. "A woman named Catherine Myers. She's serving a life sentence for second-degree murder." Lily blinked, her mouth opened slightly, but nothing came out. Grace leaned forward, her hand on Lily's arm. "Murder?" Lily finally whispered. Miss Harlan nodded. "We've confirmed through multiple layers of analysis," she said. "This woman is your biological mother." The room went silent. Grace froze. Lily shook her head slowly at first, then with more urgency. "No," she said, barely audible. "No, that's not possible. I have parents, John and Margaret Thomas. They raised me." Miss Harlan reached into the folder and pulled out a small envelope. "We know," she said, "but they are not your biological family." She slid the envelope across the table. Inside were 3 photographs, printed from an old file. Lily's fingers trembled as she picked them up. The first one showed a woman lying in a hospital bed, smiling faintly. Her hair was pulled back, her face pale, but her eyes glowed with something unmistakable. Love. In her arms was a baby wrapped in a white blanket. A nurse stood beside her. The name tag clipped to the bed rail read, K. Myers. Lily stared at the photo. Her hands were shaking. The second picture showed the same woman holding the baby close to her chest, her eyes closed as if trying to remember the moment forever. And in the third, the baby had been taken away. A man, unfamiliar, stood in the corner of the room with a clipboard. The mother's arms were empty. The timestamp on the photo was nearly 18 years old. Lily pressed her hand to her mouth. She couldn't speak. The images in front of her didn't belong to her, and yet somehow they did. She looked at Miss Harlan, eyes wide and brimming with disbelief. "This doesn't make sense," she whispered. "Why would my parents lie to me?" Miss Harlan didn't answer that. Instead, she said quietly, "I understand how overwhelming this must be, but I assure you, the DNA match is indisputable. Catherine Myers gave birth to a baby girl 17 years ago at St. Luke's Medical Center. That baby was you." The room suddenly felt smaller, the walls closer, the air heavier. The sound of Lily's heartbeat thudded in her ears like a distant drum. In one breath, her entire life split into before and after. Lily stepped out of that cold office building like she was walking on air, but not the kind that lifted you, the kind that dropped beneath your feet. The California sun had never felt more meaningless. Cars passed, people moved, life went on. But for Lily, everything had frozen inside her. Everything that had ever felt solid in her life, her family, her memories, her identity, was now floating, weightless, without shape. They didn't speak much on the ride back to the motel. Grace kept glancing over at her, but said nothing. She knew this wasn't a moment that needed noise. Once inside, Lily sat down on the edge of the bed, slowly, like she was afraid the mattress might collapse under her. Her phone was in her hand. She stared at the screen. Her thumb hovered over her mom's number. She pressed it. It rang once, twice, then she hit end. Grace turned from where she was pacing. "You okay?" she asked gently. Lily didn't answer. Her throat felt dry, her hands cold. Finally, she looked up. "They lied to me," Lily said, her voice cracking. "My whole life. They lied straight to my face." She dropped the phone onto the bed and buried her face in her hands. "I trusted them," she said, her voice muffled through her palms. "I called them Mom and Dad. I believed every word they ever told me, and none of it was real." Grace sat beside her without saying a word. She let Lily cry. And Lily did cry, harder than she ever had before. Not the kind of crying that comes from pain. This was grief. Deep, quiet grief for the life she thought she had, the people she thought she knew. After a while, her sobs softened into silence, and that's when Grace spoke. "What if Catherine didn't do it?" she said. Lily turned her head slowly. "What?" Grace looked at her, eyes focused, her voice calm. "I mean, what if this isn't just a lie?" she said. "What if this was a setup, a cover-up? I mean, think about it. They lied to you about everything. What else could they be hiding?" Lily sat up, wiping her face with her sleeve. "I don't even know who they are anymore," she whispered. "Then maybe it's time to find out," Grace said. And just like that, something shifted in Lily's chest. Grief didn't leave her, but now it had company. Anger, not the kind that explodes, the kind that simmers quietly, making you want answers. They pulled out Grace's laptop and sat on the bed with it between them. The motel Wi-Fi was slow, but it worked. They searched everything. Catherine Myers, St. Luke's Medical Center, 17 years ago. LA woman sentenced for murder. It didn't take long to find the headlines. Local woman convicted in husband's murder, life sentence. No weapon found, but motive clear. Witness testimony seals fate in domestic tragedy. They found her mugshot. Tired eyes, blank face, the same woman from the photo in the hospital bed. "She looks," Lily started but couldn't finish. "Empty," Grace said for her. They kept digging. There was a court transcript summary archived through a local news station. The article broke the case down in bullet points. Catherine Myers, age 27. Husband, Aaron Myers, found dead in their home, blunt force trauma to the head. No murder weapon was ever recovered. One witness testified, a neighbor named John Thomas. Lily froze. She leaned in closer. John Thomas, her father's name. "That has to be a coincidence," Lily said, her voice shaking. Grace was already typing fast. She looked up. "Lily, they lived 2 blocks from your current address," she said. "Your real mom and dad, 17 years ago." Lily's heart thundered in her chest. Her head was spinning. "Wait, keep going," she said. Grace nodded. The article continued. The police couldn't find any physical evidence, no DNA, no fingerprints. But John Thomas told the court he'd seen Catherine in the house that night, panicked, covered in blood. He said she confessed to him. He was the key witness. Lily couldn't believe what she was reading. "But that means, if that's our John Thomas," she whispered. Grace nodded slowly. He helped put her away. Lily stood up suddenly and backed away from the bed. "No," she said. "No, no, no. There has to be another John Thomas. There has to be." Grace looked at her, heartbroken. "I'm not saying it's true," she said, "but we need to find out if it is." Lily pressed her hands against her face. The room felt like it was shrinking. Her dad, the man who taught her how to ride a bike, who kissed her forehead every night, might have stood in court and sent her real mother to prison for life. Lily sank to the ground, and for the first time since she'd left home, she was afraid to go back. It took Lily 2 days to gather the courage. 2 days of staring at her phone, of watching the ceiling go dark and light again, of pacing the floor in silence while Grace sat nearby, waiting, not pushing, just being there. Then finally, one night as the motel lamp buzzed softly in the corner, Lily whispered the words, "I need to see her." Grace didn't ask which her. She already knew. The next morning, Grace made the call and booked the visit. That afternoon, they drove in silence through the city, through streets Lily didn't recognize, into a part of Los Angeles she never imagined herself going. The prison sat like a wound in the middle of nowhere, pale gray, quiet, and sharp against the sky. Barbed wire looped above the fences like a crown of metal. Even from the outside, it looked like a place where hope didn't breathe. They went through security, ID checks, pat-downs, cold instructions. Lily's hands trembled as they stamped her wrist, and then the doors opened. The visitation room smelled faintly of disinfectant and metal. Rows of plastic chairs, plexiglass barriers, the sound of guards' boots echoing in the background. Grace waited near the entrance, giving her space. Lily sat at the designated chair, heart pounding so hard it felt like it would split her ribs open. And then she saw her. Catherine. She looked older than the woman in the hospital photo. Thinner, paler, her frame small inside the oversized beige jumpsuit. Her eyes were tired. Tired in the way that only years of silence, concrete, and being forgotten could do to someone. She walked in slowly, her hands cuffed loosely in front of her. She was about to sit down, until she saw Lily's face. Her body froze, her lips parted, and then a single gasp broke out of her throat. She stared, trembling, unable to move. "My baby," Catherine said, her voice thin and broken. "My baby, you're alive." Tears filled her eyes instantly, spilling down her cheeks like they had been waiting 17 years for permission to fall. Lily didn't say anything. She couldn't. Her lips were shaking, her lungs collapsed inside her. And then the tears came. It was like something inside her finally cracked open, not just grief, but recognition. That face, those eyes, that ache in her chest that had never made sense until now. She covered her mouth with both hands and sobbed, loud, helpless sobs that shook her entire body. Catherine stood on the other side of the glass, her hands pressed flat against it like she could hold her through the barrier. "I thought they killed you," she whispered. "I thought I lost you forever." Lily leaned forward, her forehead resting against the glass. "Why?" she cried. "Why did they lie to me?" Catherine wiped her face, her breath ragged. "They took you from me," she said. "I didn't kill your father. I didn't. I was framed. I tried to fight, but I had no one. No money, no family. Just you, and they took you." Lily shook her head slowly. "I don't understand." "John and Margaret," Catherine said. "They lived next door to us. They were the ones who testified. They said they saw me do it, but they lied. They lied to the court." She paused, her voice breaking. "They wanted you. That's why they did it. They took you, and then they made me disappear." Lily's entire body was trembling now. She couldn't believe what she was hearing, and yet deep down, some part of her had already known. "I thought they loved me," she whispered. Catherine nodded slowly. "They probably did, but not enough to tell you the truth." She looked down at her hands, bound and thin. "I've been in here 17 years, she said. 17 birthdays without you, 17 Christmases. I wrote you letters they never sent. I kept telling myself if I could just hold on long enough, maybe one day you'd find me." Lily wiped her face with her sleeve, the tears still coming. "I didn't even know you existed," she said. Catherine gave a small, broken smile. "But now you do." They sat in silence after that, just the sound of their breath, their grief, and 17 years of distance closing, inch by inch. Lily didn't speak much on the flight home. Grace sat beside her, but even she knew there were no words that could carry what Lily was feeling now. Not anger, not confusion, not betrayal. It was something else, something deeper. Like she'd been gutted, not just by the truth, but by the people who were supposed to protect her from it. The wheels of the plane hit the tarmac, and Lily barely blinked. The car ride home from the airport felt longer than the flight itself. Her hands gripped her phone tightly the whole way, the photos still saved in her gallery. Catherine's face, the hospital bed, the transcript printout, all of it. She wasn't going to yell, she wasn't going to scream, she just needed answers. When she walked through the front door of the house, the scent of lavender and lemon cleaner hit her like a memory, one she didn't trust anymore. Margaret was in the kitchen, humming softly as she wiped down the counter. She turned, smiling warmly. "You're back early," Margaret said. "How was San Bernardino?" Lily stared at her for a second, really looked at her. And then, without taking off her jacket or even sitting down, she said, "I met her." Margaret's hands stopped moving. "What?" she asked, slowly. Lily stepped forward, her voice low but steady. "I met Catherine Myers," she said, "my biological mother." The cloth slipped from Margaret's hand. She stood frozen, her face draining of color. "Lily, she started, but Lily cut her off. "I saw the pictures. I saw the DNA results. I went to the prison. I talked to her." Footsteps echoed down the hallway. John entered the kitchen, holding a newspaper, looking confused. "What's going on?" he asked. Lily turned to him. "You want to answer that?" she said. "Or should I keep going?" John narrowed his eyes. "What are you talking about?" "I'm talking about how you lied to me," Lily said, her voice rising now. "My entire life." John looked at Margaret, who had turned pale. "She knows," Margaret whispered. "I don't just know," Lily snapped. "I have proof." She reached into her bag and pulled out the printed hospital photo, the photo of Catherine, the court document, the DNA chart. One by one, she laid them on the table like pieces of a puzzle they never thought she'd solve. Margaret's hands were shaking now. Tears welled in her eyes. "We did it for you," she said, her voice cracking. "You were just a baby. She wasn't safe." "You don't get to say that," Lily said, her voice trembling. "You took me from her." John stepped forward, his face hardening. "We saved you from a killer," he said. "You wouldn't understand." Lily laughed bitterly. "No, you didn't save me. You stole me." John's jaw tightened. "She was unstable. Her husband was dead. We couldn't let you grow up like that." "I read the case," Lily said. "There was no murder weapon, no physical evidence, just one witness, a neighbor." She took a step closer, her eyes locked on his. "You," she said. "You were the witness." John didn't say a word. "I know you testified against her," Lily said. "I know you were having an affair with her. I know her husband found out, and I know he ended up dead the next day." Margaret sobbed now, her hand covering her mouth. John's expression didn't change. Lily continued, her voice shaking with fury. "And when it all came down, you had two options, confess or lie. And you chose to lie. You sent her to prison. You let me grow up thinking you were my father." John looked away. "You let me call you Dad," Lily whispered. The silence that followed was suffocating. And then John spoke. "She was going to leave him," he said, his voice hollow. "She said she was going to take the baby and start over. We were in love. At least, I thought we were." He paused, his hands clenched at his sides. "He found out. There was a fight. I didn't mean to." He stopped himself, breathing heavily. Margaret stepped in, her voice shaking. "We didn't plan to take you," she said. "But when Catherine was arrested, you had no one, no family, and the court offered a deal. If we testified, we'd get custody. We could give you a life, a good one." Lily stared at them like they were strangers. Because they were. Lily didn't go back to school the next day. She didn't eat much, didn't sleep either. She stayed in her room, blinds half drawn, the papers spread out across her bed like pieces of evidence from a crime scene, which, in truth, they were. Grace was the one who finally said it out loud. "We have to go to the press." Lily didn't respond at first. She just kept staring at Catherine's photo, the one from the hospital. The way she held baby Lily like the whole world was inside that blanket. "She's still in there," Lily whispered. 17 years. Grace reached for her hand. "Then let's get her out." They contacted a local journalist, someone Grace had remembered from a podcast about wrongful convictions. Her name was Natalie Rivera, and she called them back within hours. They met in a small coffee shop 2 blocks from campus. Natalie listened without interrupting, her recorder running the entire time. When Lily finished telling her story, the DNA, the trial, the photos, the confrontation, Natalie simply said, "This is huge." She connected them with a lawyer. His name was Stephen Mallory, a man with tired eyes and a sharp mind. He had spent the last 2 decades overturning cases like Catherine's. "This won't be easy," Stephen said after reviewing the documents. "But it's not impossible, not with the right pieces." And then the pieces began to fall into place. Lily and Grace spent nights digging through court records, newspaper archives, old address directories. Stephen filed motions, sent letters, tracked down staff from the original case. And then the breakthrough came. Lab results showed that DNA from skin cells found under Aaron Meyer's fingernails, never tested back then, matched John Thomas. Lily sat in stunned silence when Stephen shared the news. "They had the evidence," Stephen said. "They just never used it." As if that weren't enough, another bomb dropped. A long-lost witness, a nurse from the hospital who had seen John arguing with Catherine just days before the murder, came forward. Her name was Celia Hart, now retired and living in Arizona. She had never been contacted for testimony. "I always thought it was strange," Celia said in a video call. Catherine looked scared, and that man, he was angry, real angry. He didn't like being told no. With the new evidence and sworn testimony, Stephen petitioned the court to reopen the case, and the court agreed. The hearing was scheduled 2 weeks later. Lily sat in the gallery with Grace beside her, hands clasped tightly in her lap, watching the woman she had only just met, her real mother, walk into the courtroom, still in prison clothes, still with shackles around her ankles. But this time, she wasn't alone. The judge reviewed the new evidence, the fingerprint results, the overlooked DNA, the witness who was never called. And finally, after nearly 2 decades, Catherine's conviction was overturned. She was declared wrongfully imprisoned. The gavel hit the bench like a thunderclap. The courtroom burst into motion, but Lily heard none of it. She locked eyes with her mother. And for the first time, Catherine smiled without pain behind it. She was free. Not long after, police arrived at Lily's home, her former home. John Thomas was arrested for murder, Margaret for obstruction of justice. The neighbors watched from across the street, stunned as officers led them out in handcuffs. Margaret wept uncontrollably, her hands trembling, her face red and swollen. "I loved you like my own," Margaret cried. "Every day, I loved you." Lily stood in the driveway, arms folded. Her voice was calm, too calm. "I already had a mother," she said. "You just hid her from me." Margaret broke down as the officers led her away. Lily didn't look back. Justice doesn't erase the past, but sometimes it sets the future free. Lily didn't expect it to be easy. When Catherine stepped out of those prison gates, 17 years older, 17 years lonelier, she wasn't the woman Lily had imagined in her dreams. She was real. And real meant damaged, quiet, cautious, but also trying. Catherine's new apartment was small, a 1-bedroom with a tiny kitchen and a squeaky couch, paid for by a compensation fund while the state processed her exoneration paperwork. Lily moved in with her 2 weeks later. No formal announcement, no plan. Just a quiet decision, the kind you make when your heart knows where it finally belongs. They shared space gently, like two people trying not to break each other with too much noise. Catherine struggled with things Lily never had to think about: smartphones, online grocery apps, bus routes. 17 years in prison had slowed time for her, but Lily helped, softly, patiently. And in return, Catherine told stories. Not just about the day Lily was born, or the lullaby she used to hum, or the purple blanket she refused to sleep without, but also about who Lily's father really was, Aaron Myers, a good man, not perfect, but kind, a teacher, a husband, a victim of someone else's rage. Lily listened, and slowly, piece by piece, something began to heal. She didn't forgive John and Margaret, not completely, not yet, but she forgave herself for not knowing, for trusting the wrong people, for needing time. That summer, Lily visited her old house one last time. It was quiet now, empty. The curtains were drawn, the furniture gone, just echoes of memories that no longer belonged to her. She walked through the living room, her footsteps soft against the floor. The walls still had faint marks from old photo frames. She reached the hallway closet, opened it, and pulled out the same old box marked Lily's early years. She sat on the floor, just like before, and opened it one last time. Inside was the photo, the one she had stared at for hours, 3-year-old Lily in a red Christmas dress. She held it in her hand for a long while. Then from her jacket pocket she pulled out a second photo. This one was new. It was her and Catherine, standing in front of the courthouse the day she was released. Their hands intertwined, their faces tired, but smiling. Not wide, not perfect, but real. She placed the photo next to the old one in the box, then closed the lid. Some truths don't destroy you. They rebuild you, piece by painful piece. And here brings us to the end of the story. If this story touched you, made you think, or kept you listening till the very end, please leave a comment below and tell us what you felt. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to Humanity Stories for more real, emotional, and powerful stories like this one. Your support helps us bring more hidden truths to light.